Thank you so much, Paul. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I'm looking at my panelists. I just see
I think so,
sea of
yeah.
avatars.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. My name is Vicki Reynolds, and I'm Technical Director for One Creative Environments, a nima ambassador, and I'm here today to chair the panel, Why We Are Planning a Standard Approach to the Creation of Accessible Information. And as Paul said there, it's sponsored by Morta. What I'd like to do first and foremost is allow our panelists to introduce themselves. I'm joined today by Mohammad, Shana'a, Shahida, Alex, and Emma. So Shahida, would you like to start?
Thank you, Vicki. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Great. Thank you. Shahida, I'm a Regional Director at AtkinsRealis and a nima ambassador, and I will be talking about the standard information approach today. Thank you.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, so Alex Bunty. I work for a construction company called Skanska as the head of digital construction, and also do quite a bit for buildingSMART in UK and Ireland international.
And Emma?
I'm Emma Hooper. I'm Head of Information Management Strategy at RLB Digital, and I'm also Vice Chair of nima and buildingSMART UK and Ireland.
And last but not least, Mo.
Hi everyone, Mo, good to be with you. I'm one of the co-founders of Morta, and we provide software that helps organizations move out of documents and spreadsheets into cloud-based information hubs, and involved in quite a few of the initiatives, including the IMI.
Brilliant. So I'd like to kick off aiming this question specifically at Shahida. What is the methodology behind the standard information approach? Could you explain to us a little bit about what it is and the kind of background behind it?
Thanks, Vicki. So there are two parts to this question. There's the methodology question and the nima project, which is the standard information approach. I'll start off with the methodology. The standard information approach is an 8-step methodology designed to help organizations define their information requirements, starting from the strategic objectives of that organization and working backwards, ensuring that all information requirements that are defined, procured, and delivered serve a very clear, defined information purpose. So the SIA will help organizations focus on ensuring that they are asking for valuable, purposeful information while also being environmentally conscious. So promoting standardization, less variability, and driving consistency. The nima project, which is the SIA project, which is built on the SIA methodology, the idea came about a group of public sector client teams who had similar objectives but recognized that they needed subject matter expertise to do the standard information approach, looking at strategic objectives and defining organizational information requirements will require that subject matter expertise. So they came together and said, would it not be a great idea if we had a filterable repository of information requirements, which are organized by information purposes? They have the ability to be crowdsourced from industry practitioners and organizations who are already embarked on this journey. So we can share what we've got, given that we've got common objectives, and moderated by subject matter expertise to ensure that the quality is maintained and that you can trust that those information requirements. The underlying idea there is it's a user-friendly interface. The repository will be accessible and usable by industry across the sector, where you can help others who are starting off on the journey, but also help organizations who may not have fleshed out the information requirements for a specific defined purpose. So there are two aspects of it.
Okay, fantastic. That's really interesting, and it sounds like a very good resource. But I just want to say or ask, there are quite a lot of resources already out there from nima and from other organizations. Is this another resource to add to the pot of conflicting information management resources? What makes this stand out?
So one of the reasons why this is different is because, you know, we've produced a lot of standards and guidance over the years, and that's still subject to interpretation. But what this is doing is, it's like Shahida says, a methodology and a tool which actually takes a lot of that complexity and actually hides it, and then actually provides a method for clients to then use. So it actually helps provide a starting point in terms of information requirements, rather than looking at that dreaded blank sheet of paper, which is scary. And also provides, you know, a lot of people think, oh, what does good look like? Well, you know, there isn't that many examples out there. So this actually helps do that in a much more consistent and standardized way.
Okay, has anyone got anything to add to that? No? I think that's a really nice way of putting it. It's I've been there myself, you know, where you've got the standards in front of you and you think you understand what you need to do, but getting that initial kind of pen on paper, it can be really, really daunting. So
Exactly.
I like the fact that Shahida mentioned that organizations can help each other, and people will provide information that can support others. Why would they do that? What's in it for them?
Two aspects. I'll come back in. Two aspects. Organizations to do to sort of derive organizational information requirements takes time to be done properly and in a robust way. Organizations have common goals, could be net zero carbon pledges that they sign up to, could be safety and compliance that they sign up to. And as organizations, you know, you could have a mature organization who's already on this journey, but may not have developed that particular defined information purpose. For those mature organizations, by sort of crowdsourcing, they can benefit from that. And so, as Emma said, it's not a blank sheet of paper. You can benefit from another organization who's already defined it. For the smaller organizations who are starting on this journey, it's an amazing way to sort of give them a start to the way we sort of should sort of pull information requirements. So both ways, it's going to help. I haven't seen organizations who have fleshed it out completely. So, you know, lots of the organizations are on the process, but yeah, you can sort of benefit either way. You can give back, but also benefit from other organizations.
And the other great thing
great.
is, sorry, I was going to say, it helps to reduce duplication as well. So rather than every organisation do this, you know, and then we get brought together on projects, there's obviously lots of duplication. What this does is actually provide that consistency across the industry, and then we can start to, you know, develop and build individual use cases for all different purposes.
Yeah, and just to sort of build on what Emma is saying, I think like one of the things that's very important is ultimately the delivery teams and the supply chains have to deal with information requirements. So by actually getting to consistent sets of information requirements, then companies can actually downstream start standardizing the way that they work, and it makes their lives much easier. So I think that that's one of the most important things. Generally speaking.
Absolutely. I'd throw in another one as well, is that, you know, there's a lot of big organizations that have got lots of clever people who can sit down and write these information requirements and follow them. But it's also that to get total sort of market penetration in the industry, it's getting those smaller organizations involved. And so that's where they will be leaning on industry standards and industry written requirements. Rather than have their own teams to write their own and do that, particularly on smaller projects as well.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So there is a lot of incentive there for organizations of any size and shape to get involved in this, especially those big players, because it can help shape the nature of their supply chain and provide that consistency. And I suppose for clients as well, it can help to start that consistency across all of their projects and their portfolio. So it sounds brilliant. It sounds like a lot of work. Who pays for this? How is it funded?
So at the moment, we're working through the funding, to be completely honest. We're not going to look at all of the information requirements and all of the information purposes. The project is looking at waves to sort of deploy this. There are prioritized, defined information requirements, things that are responding to policy, national agendas, because there will be opportunity for widespread scalability of those. So we look at standardized, using those sort of defined information purposes and then developing it. We're relying, as you heard, it's sort of crowdsourced. So we're relying on the community to come in and help. But we will have a pool of subject matter experts who's going to sort of help moderate it, rather than it being sort of the Wild West. So in terms of how much it's going to cost, that's all being worked through at the moment. We don't have a figure that I can share today, but it's something that we're going to sort of do it in bite sizes so that we can engage the community, learn from what's coming back as part of that initial wave and engagement.
And I mean, one of the things I've talked about a lot in the past is having these shared foundations across the industry, because when it comes to information, we're almost like one organisation, and we need to all work together and also contribute to actually getting those foundations in place. And there's a few other projects, as well as a standard information approach, that we have in the wings as well, but that will require funding. And I think, if we do come together, crowdsource it as an industry, we can really create something that's not just for now, but also evolves and develops over the future. So we do have, that data sharing infrastructure in place that we can then start to build off the likes of digital twins or AI. So, it's really very much investing in our future as an industry.
That makes sense. Okay, great. So there's a lot to be defined, but I think that is maybe a very conscious decision to start small and build up, almost an element of organic growth to this project, to ensure that we remain doing things that are relevant and appropriate for the industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And there are sort of initiatives like there's an insurance information purpose as a project within NIMA that's looking at what insurers are looking for. That is something that's relevant across the sector, and it's something that would be one of our first defined information purposes that we would bring into this repository. We would look at those commonalities and grow that, because there is that element of relying on that crowdsource. While sort of there's also large organizations who've already unpacked some of these information purposes, and how do we sort of bring those back in, where we can sort of use it for the wider community and wider sector and industry.
Fantastic, that makes sense. Okay, so this sounds like a great initiative. You mentioned at the very beginning, Shahida, strategic objectives and aligning information requirements to the strategic planning of an organization. Now, from experience, the digital teams, information management, BIM teams don't always get involved in those strategic decisions for an organization. So how can NIMA support those people in winning the hearts and minds of their organization, to give them the time, the resource, any kind of budget to support NIMA in this initiative? What's their business case?
Yeah, I mean, the strategic objectives of an organization is fundamental. It drives all organizations. The direction of travel, their decision-making is influenced heavily by these objectives. And these decision-making is reliant on information being available. So having that, if you can show that line of sight between those are your pledges you make as an organization, how do your chief execs and your C-suite know that how teams are responding to those, because they would have reporting, monitoring obligations, potentially to sort of report back to maybe to government or other sort of funding organizations. How do you ensure those strategic decisions have been adhered to, or you're on the journey to adhere to that? They should be driving the whole aspect around information requirements, and they sort of supply from a project perspective, a program perspective. You're right in the sense that there's a lot of activity around the bottom up, where it's delivering a project or a program. What information do I need to get over the line? But this is coming together of a bottom up and a top down approach, where you come together and you see, right, how does that link between strategic objectives and individual program delivery meet? And it's a huge incentive for the C-suite who hold, come up with these objectives and have to demonstrate how they're doing against them. So that's where your benefit realization case is.
I understand. Anybody else have any kind of suggestions around that? I think you covered it then, Shahida. That was that was a very good answer. So what I'd like to say to the audience is there is the opportunity to ask questions to our panel, and you can find it a little question mark icon next to the chat feature, I think in the bottom right of your screen there. But I've just got one last question for each of our panelists, which would be, what do you hope that the audience will take away with them today about this initiative? What do you hope that they will come away feeling and potentially doing to help support this initiative from NIMA? Shahida, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really because we rely on the community, an ask out to organizations, practitioners who are out there who've already invested time developing these information purposes, to come forward and volunteer your time, because we need that. It's the wider aspect that needs to be considered rather than individual projects and programs. So an ask out to those organizations. We know on large programs of work, significant amount of effort has gone into it. So how do we learn and share and grow as a community? As Emma said, it's for the benefit of the wider sector. It is fundamental to having structured data to even drive realistic application of AI and other sort of evolving technology. So just an ask out there for organizations to come and find us and get involved.
Fantastic. Alex, have you got any notes, any comments?
Yeah, so I think hopefully the biggest takeaway is about how broad information requirements are. Often when we talk about them on projects, people have in their heads, information that appointing parties need about maintenance, but it's so much broader than that. All organizations need information, because all organizations make decisions, and that's what they need to make those decisions. So getting across how broad it is, getting across what sort of, what makes up those information requirements, structured data requirements, unstructured, geometric, all of those have a part to play in terms of information requirements. And lastly, when we're building information requirements, and it's got to be linked to purposes and how those purposes come together with use cases and split those down. When I have conversations with organizations writing information requirements and with industry bodies writing information requirements, the biggest thing that we try and discuss is how granular they are and how you break those up and provide a menu for people on projects or other projects to merge those together and understand which of those are needed. So those are the takeaways that I would give.
Fantastic. Emma?
Yeah, so just to build on what Alex said, it's very much about that purpose piece that, we talk about what information is required, but we're terrible as an industry at understanding the why it's required. And I think this project is really going to help with that and drill that down into industry. And I do want to say as well that as well as the standard information approach, there are several other projects that we're looking at NIMA as well. And together they form, an overall sort of ecosystem of how they all join together. And for me, they're all absolutely crucial in pushing the industry forward with regards to information. So lots to look out for over the next few weeks.
It's going to be busy. Mo, would you have anything to add there?
Yeah, just building on what everyone's saying, I think for me the most important thing is that there is a community that's going to work on this together collectively, so that we don't need to individually reinvent the wheel and people don't have to just deal with that on their own, and ultimately the results for the industry would be much better as a result of the collected efforts, and as a result of the fact that these things would have been better tested, and that then flows all the way down to the supply chain, which makes the cost of producing information lower. So would highly urge people to join and to participate.
Great. And how do they participate? What is the easiest way to get involved in this initiative, either as an organisation or an individual?
Yeah, so we are open to organizations who have already done it, or on the path, or starting off on that journey. So yeah, please reach out. I'll share details, the teams involved. Please reach out through the NIMA website, and put your hand up. And we're in the other networking rooms. Please come and have a chat. We can get hold of your details, and we can invite you into these discussions.
And as Shahida said, if you go onto the website, you can actually sign up to be an IMI supporter, and also sponsor as well. So if you want to give up time, or if you want to give up like financial commitment, then yeah, you can do so there as well. But yeah, please come and speak to us today as well.
Fantastic. Is there any entry requirement? Do you have to have a certain amount of experience or expertise? Do you have to have delivered a certain amount of projects, or can anybody come and get involved?
I think it just depends really on how, if you're motivated, that's what we need really, people with time, motivation, eagerness to help really. And yeah, we haven't scoped out these projects in detail yet, but I think everybody's welcome really. We just need help.
Yeah. Just to add to that, we've got the SIA methodology. So that methodology is a sort of step-by-step process. So IM practitioners in this space, utilizing that methodology can easily sort of start picking an information purpose and working it systematically. So it doesn't have to be somebody who's done hundreds of information purposes. Using that methodology, that's where the consistency comes in. So it does help new practitioners coming in, as well as sort of practitioners who've been in the sector for some time. So that will help. So there isn't you've got to be X number of years behind you to sort of come and get involved. So as Emma says, it's the volunteering, it's the right sort of headspace to sort of come and help the wider project.
Just
Fantastic. I suppose.
Sorry, just add to that. It's also not just information management people. It's people from industry who know what these requirements are and purposes. Those sort of people don't need to know necessarily about certain information management standards and data structures. But they'll bring different things to the table of the why is needed also.
Yeah, that sounds very sensible. We want those people who have a specific problem or a specific need. You don't necessarily need to know how you want to solve that with the information or the data to get involved. You just need to be able to verbalize those requirements. Okay, so that sounds absolutely fantastic. There are so many opportunities to get involved. There's a lot changing over the next few months. And I suppose the big message here is that we need you, we need the community. We also need people from outside of the community. We don't want this to be a NIMA echo chamber. We are inviting everybody and anybody with experience to come and get involved in this approach. And it's all about standardizing, about building a foundation for good information management across projects that allows greater consistency. Would the panelists like to give any final comments or kind of statements to the room? I'll start with Mo.
Looking forward to having people participate in this and having them join us in this initiative, and I think it will be really important.
Fantastic. Emma?
Yeah, like I said, there's going to be a lot happening over the next few years, and we are really looking now at taking it to the next level and actually doing the implementation across industry and helping to remove some of that burden and complexity that we know exists. But like we said, we need people to help us do that. We can't do it on our own.
Yeah. Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to, say another thing is that, there's a lot of information requirements that already exist and are being written at the moment. So there's lots of dots being joined in the background, especially by Emma, between like the buildingSMART projects and the nima projects. So buildingSMART, we haven't always been the best at relating particular use cases and purposes to things. But, we've been very good at technically, relating things to the IOC schema and other data standards. So, that those things are all getting a look in, trying to join those dots together between information management practitioners and industry and those sort of things. I'm sure it'll be in a really good place in a few years to come.
Fantastic. And Shahida.
Yeah, I just want to say we operate in an environment where generation of data has become remarkably easier. Thanks to the sort of rapid technological evolution, industry object library initiatives, richer sort of manufacturing databases and tools, to name a few. But the critical question is this data valuable? Is it relevant to the end user or the procuring organization? And this is where the SIA project comes into play. And this is where organizations can ensure that they're procuring relevant data, because there's so many stats out there saying over 90% of the data that construction delivers goes unused. There's so many stats out there. So how do we sort of unlock that problem? And the SIA will give you the option to sort of focus on that valuable data driven by information purposes, so you can spend resources to maintain that data and also keep an eye on the environment and the environmental impacts of that data. So.
Brilliant. Okay, I think we're just about to wrap up, but I really just wanted to reiterate what Alex said there. I thought it was really interesting. This isn't about starting again and adding new. It's about joining those dots, aligning what we already have, the expertise that we already have as an industry, bringing it together then to create a resource that that instigates efficiency, collaboration, coordination across the whole of the built environment for information management. Thank you so much to my panelists today, and thank you everybody that came to listen and look, and for everybody who asked a question. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the sessions today, and please do reach out to nima via the website if you have any further information or questions, or if you'd like to join the initiative. Thank you very much.